Achalasia is a motility disorder that affects the functioning of the neurons in the esophagus, the organ connecting your mouth to your stomach. Because the neurons are not communicating properly, those with achalasia suffer symptoms such as severe chest pains, acid reflux, dysphagia, nausea, and during spasms are unable to swallow anything or keep anything down. In the less extreme cases, achalasia patients suffer with these symptoms on a weekly, if not a daily basis. In extreme cases, the esophagus becomes paralyzed. Achalasia is rare, with 0.3 to 1.63 out of 100,000 adults over the age of 16 officially diagnosed per year. .18 out of 100,000 people are under the age of 16. Achalasia patients are 50 times more likely to develop esophageal cancer, the 8th most common cancer across the globe, than the general population. At this point in time, achalasia is incurable, and the causes remain unknown. I was able to speak to two incredibly brave women about their life with achalasia. Heather Rowland, currently residing in New York, and Kathleen Dennis, currently residing in New Jersey. When did you first realize something was wrong?
I was misdiagnosed back when I was in my mid-30s, so it's been a 20-year journey. Initially, my first symptoms were spasms, and it felt the best explanation I can give. It really felt like exactly what a heart attack is described as feeling like, and it was terrifying.
I was 15 when I realized, when there was something wrong, and we had no idea what it was. My parents were very much of the opinion that I was making myself sick. All of a sudden, I lost all this weight, and it was, as long as I didn't eat, I was okay.
When you initially went to the doctors, what did they have to say?
Initially, back when I was in my 30s, the GERD, PPIs, H2 blockers, don't eat this, don't eat that, all of the lifestyle stuff, all of which I did. Severe dietary restrictions initially. I didn't get better.
I never the doctor's office a few times, and we couldn't figure it out, so we'll try. There was never any idea that there was something wrong with my digestive system.
When was achalasia first brought up to you as an option by your medical professionals?
So it wasn't until about March 2020, so I've been 17 years of spasms and very mild dysphagia, that suddenly my swallowing kind of tanked. I did finally connect with a decent GI doc. Then I had the manometry. What the manometry showed was that I had no peristalsis at all. I had another EGD, had all the biopsies. They were all negative, but she's like, your LES did not behave correctly, when I introduced the probe. I'm starting to think achalasia. I think this is a very weird presentation of achalasia, but I think you have achalasia.
His name was Dr. Singh. He was very nice, and he did a whole bunch of tests. I saw him probably a couple times, and then I remember sitting in the exam room, and he was at the desk, okay, and I was next to him, and my mom was in the room as well, and he wrote down a list of 6 things that he thought he was making referrals. So he was going through the reasons why, and he listed down 6 things that he believed it could be that my symptoms fit, and achalasia was the last one. And I remember him going through the list and him saying, this is like the far reach possibility, because I don't think so, but it could be on the list. So he was the first one that actually said achalasia.
Before a diagnosis can be reached, achalasia patients have to go through several different medical procedures, including the barium test.
I had another barium swallow, which I failed.
Oh gosh, the barium swallow was awful. I still cringe at thinking about those.
Endoscopies and manometries.
From there, I had to have an EGD to measure for my manometry.
I remember the tubes, the long mercury tubes that they start with different diameters, very thin to very thick.
All while their symptoms worsen. By the time they get a diagnosis, which is basically confirmation for surgery, it can be too late, or almost at least.
By now it is December 2021, and in the interview, my initial interview with him, he said, "I can do a poem on you and you will get better." I had a poem procedure on January 10th of this year, and I had about 6 weeks after the poem where I would say every swallow was totally unimpeded and it was magical. And now I do have some trouble swallowing.
But from the time I had the tubes, the last treatment of the tubes, when I actually had the surgery, it had gotten so bad that I couldn't even drink water. Well, what pushed the surgery was that if they didn't do the surgery, I was going to die. But I apparently coded 3 times in the OR and twice in recovery. They cut from the shoulder blade down across into your breastbone and go in that way. And when they did that, they cut a piece of the muscle out. But my esophagus got paralyzed.
The sad reality is that even with the best treatment teams in the world, achalasia is incurable. It's lifelong, and for all its patients, at least at this moment in time, it's permanent.
Achalasia has absolutely destroyed my mental health. It has been, it's difficult now between COVID and everything else. It's been hard to find good therapy, but I am actively seeking psychotherapy because I have been, profoundly depressed while I was looking for answers and a diagnosis. And I'm not so depressed anymore, but I'm really, post-surgery, I'm really overwhelmed. And I cry every day. I experienced the entire process of getting diagnosed and getting treated to be really traumatic. And I'm healing from trauma, and it's a lot.
There's that impression that once you get a diagnosis, there's then a treatment, and you get better, right? That's what the medical model is all about. You make a diagnosis, you treat it, you get better. And getting better means that you're restored to health and the way it was, okay? So it's like I break my arm, I get this treatment, I go in a cast, 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks later, my bones healed, and I get full use of my arm back. So that's the idea of this. So it's like, okay, I'm going to have surgery, okay, or I'll have whatever, okay, and I'll get better. But, we have 2 tubes and then surgery, and it's like, yeah, there was some improvement, things were better, but then very quickly, those muscles collapse again. So I've worked in social services over close to 30 years now. My career, adult career, has been in social services, in some type of counseling position. I love the brain stuff, so it's complemented, and so that meant that body-mind connection that was like the latest rave. We're truly appreciating that a lot more. So through my work, I've learned a lot that has helped me personally.
So how did I come across all this information about achalasia? Why am I so passionate about raising awareness for such a rare, obscure disorder, hoping to one day find a cure? In October of 2012, when I was only 12 years old, I was diagnosed with achalasia. At the time, I was one of the youngest people to ever be formally diagnosed with it. For most of my doctors and surgeons, I was the first patient they ever treated with achalasia. Since my diagnosis, I've had several surgical procedures with plans to have several more. I take medication constantly, and still my symptoms affect my daily life. Even with all that, I know I'm one of the lucky ones. I was diagnosed early, and I got started on my treatments right away. Every achalasia patient should get that care, that treatment, and that respect from their medical professionals, and many don't. Just because it's rare doesn't make it any less real, any less painful, and any less wicked. When you're an achalasia patient, you have to live day by day.